Welcome to BMC. Today we are going to see one important bowl that is called as thin. Thin is one of the most difficult bowl on the right hand side as a beginner. That is what people say. The reason is thin has to be played in between the shahi and the maidan, and when you play thin you should hear the sound exactly thin out of the tabla. It's very hard to produce as a beginner. That is what my experience is. Let's go to the tutorial. Tip number one is when you play thin, you'll be using the index finger. If you look at all the three portions, you'll be using the first two portions to produce the sound thin. For na or ta, you are going to use only the first portion, but for thin, you'll be using the first two portions of it. The second tip is when you play thin, you have to hit very softly, right? So na, you hit it very hard. In thin, actually you have to hit it very softly. Then you have to produce that resonant sound which will produce as thin. You hit and you lift your finger. Let's go to the practice lessons now. The practice lessons are first thin, 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 thin. The next lesson is thin, there is a gap, then thin, thin. The third exercise is going to be thin, 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 thin. The fourth exercise is going to be thin, 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 thin. The last exercise is going to be playing na and thin. You should hear both sounds differently. You can also play thin, na, na, thin, na, na. Thin, there is a gap, then you play na, na. Hope this lesson helps all the beginners to play the perfect thin. Thank you so much for watching.